babies, it's that time again. Oh, yeah. We have 2 more days at work, both being half days. So that's fun. Then graduation on Monday. That's not so much fun. The reason that is because of the snow. So we lost the weekend there. Oh well. So we're looking at things that are eternal instead of all of this temporal nonsense. Because man, this stuff will really get in your way, won't it? Oh my gosh. Temporality. Go away, please. Don't worry, it's coming. Woo. I love that they fixed these highways because it's nice and smooth. Smooth sailing. Just like Jesus, baby. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ken Wilber. He's a Zen Buddhist. He wrote several books about integral theory, similar to spiral dynamics from Claire Graves. And I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but just to give you the general sense of what he's after is trying to help people see what is influencing their thinking, and by extension, who they are, because that's how we present ourselves to the world, is from what we're thinking. And so he goes through history and maps out, various stages of enlightenment. So you're kind of starting off with people thinking, oh, there's a storm coming, God must be angry at us, that kind of thing, which he calls a mythic, I think he calls that a mythic period. And when you've got that kind of thinking that is really primitive, then you're not going to be in a position to appreciate other aspects of life, growth, possibilities. So when something is presented to you as different, you think of it as evil, just because you don't understand it. And isn't that the world we have right now? We have regressed, at least in the United States, we have regressed into this mythic stage of development, which is like thousands of years old. Mind-boggling. That just blows my mind. It really does. I know people are capable of ridiculous things, but this one has to take the cake. And so how do we see mythic thinking today? Anything that is a us and them perspective is mythic. Because you're right, they're wrong. Everything about you is right, and everything about them is wrong or evil. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some areas where you could have sharp disagreements I'm not saying anything like that, because I always think of like the illegal border access is a good example of it. There's a reason law works. Yeah. So I'm not talking about those types of things. I'm talking about the kind of visceral separation, judgment, suspicion, hatred, violence, and imposing death because people are not your tribe. So in Ken Wilber's framework, he sees that, and rightly so, that as a people and as a society, if we are to wake up and grow up, as he says, then we need to come into a more pluralistic understanding of things, which just recognizes the diversities of thought and belief systems. And then even beyond that, to an integral stage where some of the differences that you are identifying at the pluralistic stage, you're actually learning to adopt some of it into your own development. So it becomes like this new synthesis. And I think all that's helpful for Christians because just like those who are subject to mythic levels of thinking, fundamentalist Christians do that all the time. They are a mythic group because they don't see the value in an atheist, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Taoist. When in some cases, if you take the time to analyze someone's life, quite often non-Christians are more useful to communal growth than Christians are. Because if you're operating out of a mythic mindset, then you, by definition, are separating yourself from all those who are different. So you can't learn from them because you're too busy judging them and separating yourself from them. And then you have to ask yourself, how is that love? How is my separation from those who are different than me an act of love? And what do I need to do to be more loving to that group that I've always hated? Yeah, baby. So I think it's really useful. There's just a perfect example of it. Here you have a Zen Buddhist who spent his life studying these different lines of development in psychology and overall in time and science. And he has a framework that is more useful than people who believe the Bible is the entire Word of God. Because those people, which I call Bible worshipers, are going to defend to the end every mythic, outdated, genocidal, homophobic, misogynistic, vengeful story in the Bible and try to make it divine. so that their own lives are justified by perpetuating those lines of division, violence, and hatred. Clearly that's not loving. Clearly that's not Jesus. And so we need to get into a more meditative understanding. And from that we can learn from Buddhists and Hindus of quieting ourselves and recognizing that we are making ourselves subject to all of these nefarious influences, when instead we should be above it all and injecting the universe with love, compassion, light, showing the way of peace and growth. Yeah, baby.